Local people, important issues. CBS 10 WILM's weekly focus on the Lower Cape Fear region. This is Byline Wilmington with your host, Don Ansell.
Welcome and good morning. Well, another annexation initiative is facing a court challenge. Local attorney Jim Eldridge is representing the opposition and joins us as our Byline guest this morning. Hey, Jim, thanks for coming in today.
Thanks for inviting me, Don.
I was talking to my brother about the interview we're doing this morning, and he said, well, what is annexation? And I explained to him what it was, and that the issue was forced annexation. And he wasn't familiar with that. He's in New Jersey. Mm-hmm. There's not a whole lot of states that even allow forced annexation. And do you know how many still allow that?
I've never looked into it personally, but anecdotally, for the past 10 years, I've always heard that North Carolina, along with 4 or 5 others, was the severest form of it, in the sense that there wasn't ever, the people don't have a voice.
Right.
They don't get
not
to vote
that
on
annexation is not used as a tool in the other states, but forced annexation is limited.
I think most states probably have a form of involuntary annexation, but I think those procedures allow the residents to have more of a voice than they have in North Carolina.
And then I started explaining how annexation, to my brother, has a long history in this country. I mean, we annexed territories as a country. States have annexed territory before we were a continental United States. They would annex, and municipalities annex territories and continue to do that. There's been some public discussion about the intent of annexation. What is it? Why is it used? Can you give us your view on why municipalities use annexation?
Well, I'll give you 2 views. If you look at the statutes that control involuntary annexation, there's actually a public policy section, and it talks about providing needed municipal services to fringe areas of municipalities, extending city services to people who traditionally use those city services by living in close proximity to them, providing for orderly growth, orderly population growth, orderly expansion of municipalities and services. But it's been my experience, and borne out in certain cases by certain testimony, that most annexation is primarily for enhancing the tax base. You don't see semi-rural areas being annexed to provide the necessary public services. What you always see being annexed are subdivisions and commercial property, because they enhance the tax base.
Are you saying that most of the areas that are targeted for annexation already have the services that those residents need without?
I've had
annexation?
7 or 8 or 9 annexation trials, and the recurrent theme in all those trials were the residents saying, we've got what we need, we don't need what the city is providing. Now, it may be septic as compared to sewer, it may be well water as compared to municipal water, maybe the city sanitation services provides for yard debris and leaf debris, and they don't have that under their contracts out in the county. But essentially, I've never heard anybody say, well, this annexation, I don't like it, but at least I'm getting something that I need.
But there are areas that request to be annexed, and that there was a recent neighborhood that wanted to be annexed into the city of Wilmington.
A lot of people don't realize, if you look at the statutes, there's probably 4 or 5 different types of annexation. One is by petition. If you, for whatever reason, if you want your land annexed, you can petition the governing board to bring it into the city limits.
What are the advantages? Why would a neighborhood that's pretty well serviced by the county that they, why would they want to be annexed?
Sometimes you see it when a subdivision's being developed, that in exchange for certain services, they'll agree to come in. There may be some utility agreement regarding the provision of municipal water and sewer. Sometimes, take a case over in Brunswick County, There was one property based on, I don't know how it came about, but the property had split jurisdiction. It was residential. Some of it was in the county, some of it was within a municipality.
They wanted to unify the...
So that they could then market it. So
That was the developers that requested?
well, that was actually a homeowner. Somehow or another, his property had gotten into 2 different jurisdictions, and he wanted to clear it up so that he could market it.
So in the issues that you deal with as an annexation attorney, and we're going to get into how you got into that specialty, it boils down to, should people be forced to take services they contend they don't want or need?
I respectfully disagree. When you approach an annexation problem, you look to see if the municipality followed what it had to do, and then you make claims based on that if they exist. Services, sometimes they don't want them. The thing I hear most often, but it is not a viable argument, but it certainly has a good ring to it: no taxation without representation. But the courts, including the United States Supreme Court, has shot that down 50 years ago, although it's a point that I always hear in every proceeding.
Did they shoot it down in an annexation case?
Hunter v. Potter.
What state was that in?
I don't remember what state it came out of, but annexation, the case law, here's the bottom line. There's probably 50 to 60 years of case law decisions involving forced annexation that occur on a nationwide or federal basis. And the bottom line is that just about any argument you can think of has been tried and lost.
There's never been a case that's been won against forced annexation?
No, you win them, but not on the arguments that you think about. For example, in the Wilmington case, the appeal...
Previous case.
Well, that was a different matter. Most forced annexation appeals are based on a statute. And that statute tells you what your claims are. And those claims basically involve whether the city jumped through all the hoops and met all the requirements. Now, and that's it. That's 90% of what you can do. There are a handful of cases where due process and equal protection can be valid claims. And in a reverse situation where say, a minority-based voting block within a municipality's strength is being diluted by annexations of different types of property, then you might have a voting right.
That was sort of an issue in the recent redistricting case in Pender County that I don't know how it played out, but the Supreme Court heard
something about that.
Yeah.
So, Voting Rights Act, sometimes due process and equal protection, but 99% of the time, the local statute that tells you what you can do and what you can't based on if the city met its requirements.
We're going to come back and talk more with local attorney who is an annexation specialist, if you will, Jim Eldridge. And we'll talk about the city's contention in the case that's now in the courts. We'll be right back. Stay with us.